So, our Peru adventure began in complete luxury and optimism. David and I were flying business class and we'd been upgraded, all smiles, feeling very pleased with ourselves. What could possibly go wrong? We had 4 flights ahead of us. Iguazu to Buenos Aires to Lima, and finally Lima to Cusco. Now at this point we were still excited, still glamorous, still functioning, but little did we know Peru had other plans for us. Everything was going relatively smoothly until we landed in Lima. And that's when the drama began. David's luggage had disappeared, completely missing. Well, we knew it was in the airport. Anyway, now if you travel a lot, you'll know that sinking feeling when everybody else is happily collecting their suitcases and yours simply never appears. And because of all the delays trying to sort it out, we missed our connecting flight to Cusco. Honestly, after being awake since 4 a.m, that was nearly enough to finish us off. At this point, we were exhausted, tired, delirious, and trying very hard not to lose the plot in the airport. But thankfully, there was one more flight that night, and honestly, the relief we felt when they confirmed the seats were available, you would have thought we'd won the lottery, because otherwise we would have had to stay until the next day. And the biggest miracle of all was that David's missing luggage somehow made it onto that final flight too. I still don't know how. Travel miracles do happen occasionally. By the time we finally arrived at our accommodation in Cusco, in the early hours of the morning, we were beyond shattered. But the moment we walked in, oh my goodness, it was beautiful. It was a lovely boutique hotel, warm lighting, traditional touches, cozy atmosphere, and most importantly, a very comfortable bed. And trust me, that bed felt like a 5-star spa experience after the day we'd had. Oh, that was a journey and a half. Well, we woke up to the rain. Now, usually rain on holiday can be disappointing, but honestly, at this stage, none of that mattered. Because the most important thing in Cusco is acclimatizing to the altitude. And this is something I really want to stress if you're planning this trip yourself. One of the biggest mistakes tourists make is arriving in Cusco and immediately trying to rush off to Rainbow Mountain or Machu Picchu. Please don't do that. Cusco sits at around 3,400 meters above sea level. And the altitude is no joke. You genuinely need at least 2 days to adjust properly. Our host was amazing and gave us lots of advice. I mean, I did see other tourists sitting in hotel foyers with oxygen masks. I mean, no, that's not the way to do it. Eat lightly, drink plenty of water, avoid alcohol, and drink lots of the local coca tea. Now, if you've never heard of coca tea before, it's traditionally used in Peru to help with altitude sickness. And honestly, I think it really helped us. We drank lots of it and we bought some little gummies as well, made out of it. So we just followed the advice. Our host also brought us this delicious warm chicken broth. And at that moment, it tasted like the greatest meal on earth. Really simple, comforting. It was just perfect. So over the next couple of days, we slowly explored Cusco. And honestly, we completely fell in love with it. There was something magical about this city. The cobbled streets, the historic buildings, the atmosphere, the energy. It felt safe, relaxed, friendly, and full of character. Everywhere we went, people were kind and welcoming, and genuinely, David and I both wish we'd planned a longer stay there. Cusco deserves more time than most people give it. But eventually, adventure number 1 arrived. And let me tell you, Rainbow Mountain, this was one serious day, another 5 a.m. start. At this point in South America, I think early mornings had basically become our personality. We were picked up whilst it was still dark, and began the long drive into the Peruvian Andes. We stopped for breakfast on the way, which thankfully was needed because this was going to be a big day. Now, Rainbow Mountain sits approximately 5,200 meters above sea level. That is incredibly high. And even after acclimatizing, you still feel it. Now, there are several ways to experience Rainbow Mountain. Some people hike the entire route, some go on horseback, others use motorbikes, but honestly, I think we chose the best option, ATVs. And I would absolutely recommend them. Not only was it incredibly fun, but it also saved energy for the final hike, because even though the actual hike itself is only 4 kilometers, the altitude changes everything. Normally, a 4-kilometer walk wouldn't sound like much at all, but up there, a completely different story. It takes around 1.5 to 2 hours because the air is so thin. And the strangest feeling is your body physically won't let you walk quickly. You can try, and immediately your lungs say, absolutely not. Here we are at the top of Rainbow Mountain. So everybody ends up moving very slowly, tiny steps, stopping often, catching your breath constantly. It's one of the weirdest physical sensations I've ever experienced, but also one of the most extraordinary. And I can honestly say Rainbow Mountain became one of the top 3 highlights of our entire South America adventure. The scenery was unreal, the colours, the mountains, the vastness of the landscape. It honestly didn't feel real. And standing there at over 5,000 meters above sea level, taking it all in, apparently it's the same as Everest base camp. It was incredibly emotional. I was so grateful we'd taken those 2 days to acclimatise first, because without that preparation, I think we would have really struggled. And my David had a poorly leg as well, and he managed, so, hats off to him. Yeah, the following day, we finally had a little break before the big one, Machu Picchu. But I have to say that this trip, the journey there, the journey back was quite long. We're talking about, was it 3-4 hours there and back? It was worth it. Anyway, whilst you're in Peru, you have to try the local drink, Pisco. And wow, they do not mess around. There were endless varieties and cocktails to choose from. And yes, after all the early mornings, 1 or 2 may have been sampled. It was a nice break, purely for cultural reasons, obviously. Now, overall, we genuinely loved the food in Peru. It was fresh, flavourful, comforting, lots of soups, grilled meats, rice dishes, really delicious. But there was one local delicacy we absolutely could not bring ourselves to try: roasted guinea pig. Yes, you heard me correctly. Guinea pig. I had a guinea pig when I was little. Apparently, it's a traditional delicacy in Peru. But for us, it was a hard pass. Absolutely not. Some experiences are for other people. There you go. There it is. And then finally, the big day arrived. Machu Picchu. Another 4 a.m. start. Because apparently sleep was no longer part of the itinerary. We began with around a 2-hour bus journey to the train station at Aguas Calientes to board the Inca rail train. Now, this part was actually a really fun experience. We chose the 360-degree panoramic train, which has huge windows and even glass panels in the roof, so you can fully enjoy the scenery throughout the journey. I mean, the way it's so well organised, the way they actually get you to the train was original in itself. And such a lot of fun. I mean, I love all the Inca fabrics and all the handicrafts. And this area where the train station was, again, a lot of people were staying here, so they didn't have that big journey before they had to join the train. But it looked like a very nice little village. But this was our little journey to get the train, and it was raining. I invested in a rain map whilst I was out there, but I only needed it for this couple of days here in Cusco. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, the train. So you can fully enjoy the scenery throughout the journey, and the scenery really is beautiful. Mountains, rivers, cloud forests. It's stunning. But let's talk about the cost, because this experience is definitely not cheap. The train alone was around £230 per person. And then once you add the rest of the tour, transport, entrance tickets and everything else, you're looking at around £700 overall. That's for two people. So yes, this is definitely a bucket list experience, financially as well as anything else. So yeah, when you finally arrive, there's another bus journey up to the entrance of Machu Picchu itself. And interestingly, we ended up with a personal guide, which we actually didn't realise was included. So that was a lovely bonus. He was fantastic. He was very passionate, very knowledgeable, and he explained all the history and significance behind the site and all the information about the Incas and everything to do with Machu Picchu. So now, if you're planning a visit to Machu Picchu, this part is very important. There are currently 3 main circuits. Circuit 1 focuses on the upper panoramic viewpoints and classic postcard photos. Circuit 2 is considered the main classic route and gives access to more of the archaeological areas and temples. And Circuit 3 focuses more on the lower section and additional mountain routes. Now, unfortunately, we booked a bit too late. So the only option left for us was Circuit 1, which was still beautiful, as you can see. But apparently Circuit 2 is considered the best overall experience. So my advice would definitely be to book early, especially during busy periods, because tickets can and do sell out. And you can do even more than one circuit if you've got enough time. So everything now has to be booked online and in advance through the official government system. So definitely don't leave it until the last minute like we did. Afterwards, we had a light lunch and we did a little shopping. Then began the long journey back, train, bus, transfer, and eventually we arrived back in Cusco at around 10 p.m. Honestly, we were absolutely exhausted, completely shattered, and now for the part that may surprise people. Was Machu Picchu worth it? Well, for us personally, actually, no. And I know that probably sounds shocking because for so many people, this is the ultimate bucket list destination. But strangely, it ended up being much lower on our list of South America experiences than we expected. There just wasn't that huge wow feeling for me personally, or for David. Rainbow Mountain absolutely beat it, hands down, especially considering Rainbow Mountain cost around £100 for the two of us, which just goes to show sometimes the experiences you least expect become your favourites. Travel is such a personal thing. What one person absolutely loves, another person may simply appreciate it differently, and that's okay. Would I still recommend seeing Machu Picchu? Yes, absolutely, especially if it's been a lifelong dream. But for us, Rainbow Mountain stole the show, and guess what? The early starts weren't over yet, because the very next day we were heading into the Amazon jungle. And trust me, that was an adventure. So make sure you look out for the next episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Signing out for now. Don't forget to like, share, and see you soon.